The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
I'm Ryan Risky.
We are talking about the Cubs as they have clinched the NL Central second straight year, third straight postseason. They went as the second wild card team in 2015.
It's a depressing stat when you find out it's the first time since 1906 through 1908 that they've been to the postseason 3 straight years.
I know. It's pretty crazy. I think they beat the Detroit Tigers in 1907 and 1908, so that was a rematch. We could see that again this year with Cleveland. Certainly possible, because I think the Indians and the Cubs have the best records in the second half. So that's pretty impressive.
Do you want to play Cleveland in the World Series?
I would say no. I would definitely say no, especially, it was so hard fought last year.
They've been more dominant
than the
Cubs have been in the second half.
I mean, we knew the addition of Edwin Encarnacion would be huge, but I don't think we knew how huge it would be. And Francisco Lindor is just otherworldly, especially in the month of September. He's hitting home runs every night, it seems. And that team's getting it together.
Add in Jose Ramirez is hitting .315 with 25 home runs.
MVP candidate. Who would have thought that? An AL MVP candidate. It's unbelievable.
In addition to Corey Kluber pitching better than ever, Carlos Carrasco's pitching.
Yeah, he's going to beat out Sale for the Cy Young. It's definitely possible.
And at the All-Star break, if you had said somebody other than Sale would win the Cy Young, you would have been laughed at hysterically.
Right. It's just
and now Kluber's been unhittable.
Yeah, he's just been so dominant, since the All-Star break. And yeah, he was also hurt for a while, but he's been really good. So talking about the Cubs and I guess who they would match up with. If the Cubs were lucky enough to make it back to the World Series, I think. If I'm the Cubs, I'd maybe want to play a team like Houston that hasn't been there before and also has a lot of young guys that may not know how to handle the pressure. I think they're gonna.
Every team in the playoffs is good,
especially this year. It's really there's really no clear-cut favorite.
Right. Well, last year you kind of assumed that the Cubs were the favorite.
We were hoping.
Right. Yeah, we were hoping. This year, especially if the Diamondbacks win the wild card game, them and the Dodgers are going to be going at it. That's probably a 5-game series right there. Cubs and Nationals, that's probably. A lot of these LDS series you could easily see going 5 games.
Right. And
maybe I could see Cleveland, taking care of the AL wild card winner. Maybe in 3 or 4 games.
I think the Yankees, if they win the AL wild card, the Yankees could give the Indians some trouble. I don't think they'd win the series, but I think they could give them some trouble. I also think the Twins have been playing really well, and my early prediction is that the Twins are going to beat the Yankees in the AL wild card.
Do you think the Twins regret trading Jaime Garcia?
Yeah, that's a good point, because they really don't have a solid, besides Irvin Santana, they don't really have...
And Jose Barrios.
Yeah, and Jose Barrios has been good. But you're not going to throw Bartolo Colon out there, and you're not going to throw... what's his name?
You might have to pitch Colon. The experience is there.
Yeah. I just don't know. They have another pitcher. I forget his name. I saw him pitch when I went to that Sox game in August, and he's done pretty well in the second half. But his name's escaping me. But
the offense has been very good. Eddie Rosario has emerged. He has over 20. He has 25 plus home runs. Byron Buxton has figured it out at the big league level. He's been hitting really good as of late.
They're the first team to make the postseason after losing 100 games the previous year. So that's also something to pay attention to. They're really riding on a high right now, so we'll see how they go.
The funny thing about that is, in 2015, they had a very good season. Didn't make the playoffs. They had a very good season, and everyone assumed they would build off of it and then make it back to the postseason, and then last year happened. Nobody on that pitching staff knew how to get an out.
Yeah, I know, and that was bad. So I mean, I guess the Twins would throw Irvin Santana out there. He pitched today. He pitched well.
They said their manager confirmed after the game Santana's pitching in the wild card game. He pitched 5 shutout innings today, 57 pitches, good tune-up to get ready.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be him. And he's had a good season. So,
and I think that the day of the AL wild card that would line up, that would be like his normal, I believe he'd either have an extra day of rest or that'd just line him up for his next start. I think it'd line him up for his next start, on the 5th day.
Probably. I would think so. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. The AL, you have the Angels were eliminated last night thanks to the White Sox, and I don't know if you saw the video, but the Twins were watching the White Sox game in the clubhouse in Cleveland, and when Nicky Delmonico hit the home run, they all went crazy. So that's always kind of a cool moment.
Right, especially for a team that was given no chance at the beginning of the season.
I know, seriously. They really were not given any chance. That whole AL Central did not play out the way anyone expected. I mean, we expected Cleveland to be there, but we expected Kansas City to be possibly a wild card team.
We expected the White Sox to be terrible.
Yes, and they have lived up to that, so that's
they lived up to those expectations.
So that's good. But yeah, I just don't know. It's really tough to say. And you have Boston, who has been struggling a little bit. The starting pitching is definitely a question mark. Besides Sale, as far as besides Sale, you don't really have any other.
You have the reigning Cy Young Award winner from last season.
Well, yeah, that was kind of a joke, but yeah. The Twins pitcher I was thinking of was Kyle Gibson. He's been pitching well down the stretch. That's the other guy. But yeah, it'll be Irvin Santana for them.
See, and if you kept Jaime Garcia, that's a guy with postseason experience, and that'd probably be your Game 3 guy.
Yeah, that's definitely a more decent rotation. If you had Irvin Santana, Jose Barrios, and Jaime Garcia going 1, 2, 3, and then Bartolo as 4. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, that's really not bad. And Dozier's been playing well, and Mauer has had a pretty good bounce back year. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs. I don't really know what to expect, but it'll definitely be crazy, and the Cubs will be right there in it. I mean, I don't think anyone thinks that the Nationals are going to sweep the Cubs, but I think most of the experts are picking Washington right now, which is fine. It doesn't really matter. I know.
The thing is that rotation, it's just like there's a very realistic possibility that it goes back to Chicago with the Nationals up 2-0 just because they got Scherzer and Strasburg.
Sure. Even then, I wouldn't say there'd be panic. I wouldn't feel good about it. Obviously, no one would feel good about that situation.
I mean, I'd feel good about John Lester being able to beat Gio Gonzalez in Game 3.
Yeah, Gio's been struggling a little bit down the stretch. I know that because I have him on my fantasy team, and that was part of the reason why I lost last week in the third place game. But he didn't do very well. Sale did. He didn't the week before when I was still in it, so that wasn't good. But I mean, they've been doing pretty well.
Right. I mean, and I'd feel better, in especially Game 4. Like, I like Jose Quintana against Tanner Roark.
I definitely like that matchup. I think, and I think that would be good to have Quintana, really set up for a good chance to win home and against the Nationals' worst pitcher that they have in the rotation.
Right. I mean, that's a better matchup, and obviously, you feel good about John Lester. Pitching. I mean, I feel like he's the kind of guy that with him and Arrieta, it's like if it's like a win or go home game facing elimination, they're definitely the kind of guys you would want out there.
Right, and as before we go to break, as far as the offense is concerned, I think it's pretty evenly matched. I think we all kind of see that. Rizzo and Bryant are comparable, certainly comparable to Harper and Murphy. So. I think the Cubs probably have an edge there in the middle of the lineup, especially if Bryant can start hitting. I mean, he's been hitting, but he hasn't been driving in a lot of runs. Part of that has to do with him batting second. But if you have him and then Contreras, to follow Rizzo, you're really in good shape. It'll be a question if Hayward can start hitting and if Baez can continue to hit and drive in runs. If Hayward can start to drive in runs, I think we have an edge with the offense.
Absolutely. I mean, both offenses are deep. The Cubs definitely have experience. They have experience driving in some big runs.
Yeah, just look at Addison Russell last night. I mean, huge 3-run homer there. We were getting shut down. We kept swinging at the first pitch. I was like, take some pitches for Pete's sake. Michael Wacha was doing good, but then he went back to form against the Cubs. It seems he's always pitching horribly against the Cubs. So we'll see how it goes. Russell had that huge home run, of course, and then they kind of took it from there. And, yeah, tonight's lineup is pretty funny, but it's well-deserved that they get some time off before the playoffs start next Friday. So a week from tomorrow, all the DS games and the NLCS games will be on TBS this year, until the World Series, which is always on Fox. So we'll look forward to that. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about those Bears as they get ready for the Packers. That should be exciting. You're listening to Sports Renegades at SportsTownChicago.com. The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.